Kia ora, Illuminators! Welcome back to our channel. Today, we talk about the metagame again. We are now in Set 8 Store Championship season.
This is part 2 of the video that we have released 2 days ago, so make sure to check the other video as well before watching this. In this video, we're going to be talking mainly about the meta decks that you might see in the set champs around your store, as well as a couple of decks that we believe that it's going to be quite dominant in the set championship.
Let's get into the first deck.
Okay, so for our first deck, we have the Amber Steel Song deck. What a surprise, KG!
What a surprise!
Yeah, what a surprise! I think
I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I have said it multiple times on our channel as well. To be honest, the Rhino Shift is probably the strongest card that we have seen from the latest set, I believe, and yeah, I think we're gonna see this card being more in play in the meta scene, purely because of how fast it is and how unbeatable it is when it comes down early. So yeah, he is in this deck as a full set, and I believe this is still dominating the meta. So let's get into this deck list.
Right. So we have the couple of nukers, which is including Lino, I just said, and the Lady at the 3 cost. Also the Goofy, the 4 cost Inkable. And plus we have the Beyond the Horizon instead of the Whole New World. So this is a little bit different type of the Diggy hole. And I'm gonna describe it how this deck works. So as you can see, we have 2 different pathways in this deck. The first one is you play Cinderella and play Troubadour and play Ariel, just like usual, but you finish with the Beyond the Horizon, not the Whole New World. And with the Beyond the Horizon, then you can shuffling and like ask them to discard their card, your opponent's cards, and then resetting their hands instead of like giving them the 7 cards. Then what else you can do is actually you can shield the game with Goofy or Ariel. So that's the part. The first one, Goofy, has the best combination with the Mr. Smee. About the Mr. Smee, he has a negative ability. At the end of your turn, if this character exhausted and you don't have a captain character, you have to deal 1 damage to this character. So that's a negative ability. Because of that, some people usually play the Captain Hook or play another captain, which is
John Silver.
Likely, who was it? John Silver, yeah. John Silver was the card to prevent this negative effect. But now we have the Goofy, and with the Goofy, Mr. Smee become a bit of unbeatable. So Goofy's ability is he will remove the 1 damage from each of your characters. Then he will ready each character you remove damage from this way. Meaning, if you have like a Mr. Smee, and then with Goofy, you will deal 1 damage to Mr. Smee first, then remove that with Goofy. That's like usual pattern, so because of that, like Mr. Smee become ready all the time, so you never really have to afraid about the challenging from the opponent.
The Goofy is quite strong because, to be honest, I think at that early stages of game, turn 4, turn 5, the only card that has answer to that is Elsa. So Elsa exerting Goofy could take down something, but then the following up with it is that Elsa will have to hit it with something else, so they're missing out on the quest. And then probably Goofy with 3 willpower is taking down an opponent card as well at the same time. So the trade wise, the value is great, and also Mr. Smee is going to stay on the board for another turn with that. So that's 4 quests that Smee is about to do. I think that's like the strong part of it. You are, I feel like, more favored in that situation. I mean, like, purple is tough for a Amber Steel or like kind of an aggro kind of deck, but for you to be able to ready your character in that earlier stages, it's quite good ability to have.
The only answer that the opponent may have is their Elsa, the 5th spirit. And without that, Goofy is indestructible.
Yeah, it is. He actually is.
He's indestructible on turn 4. And if you play first, then they have to take another turn 1 or 2 to play the Elsa. So yeah, pretty much like a solid strategy for that.
I mean, I guess you have like cards like Dragonfire and Let It Go, but it just feels so wrong. It just feels so wrong to play that for that Goofy and then just returning the turn because they have Smee and whatever they played earlier anyway, and then they can just quest again. So maybe if it's a mirror matchup or you are playing Steel Color yourself, Strength of Raging Fire and then Along Came Zeus might be an option. But either way, yeah, just the pressure that Goofy is able to apply is quite good in this archetype, I believe.
Goofy like providing a lot of lore with them, then that's a plan A. The plan B is a bit slightly different, but also back to the classic. So yeah, Steel Song itself is usually removing the opposite character if that is like strict to you. Especially all the time, like you have to defend your Ariel in order to play another songs, but we have another Ariel in this deck. Ariel Sonic Warrior can literally dominate and dominates the field and also like suppressing the opponent characters. For the people like who didn't know about her ability, that her ability called Amplified Voice is triggered when you play a song. And when you play a song, you may pay additional 2 ink to deal 3 damage to choosing character. Choosing character, it doesn't have to be the opponent character, and it comes with the combination with the Goofy or the Rapunzel at some point, but usually you play this ability to removing the opponent character, but like there's some technique for that, so that's the point. But like with the Ariel, the most of the opponent character cannot survive because most of your songs are dealing damage to those characters. Simply, play Ariel and shift her, then use that ability to remove all the characters from the field, then you can easily start questing with the other characters.
For sure, because I think what people need to remember is if people have let the Storm Rage on still at that point, that's 5 damage in total that Ariel is able to do. If you hit a singer, or if you sing with her, then you only pay 2 cost extra to basically do what Along Came Zeus does. And you're still drawing a card on top of it, just for 2 cost. It sounds pretty good to me, to be honest. You are able to do a surprising amount of damage out of nowhere, and personally, from what I have been seeing lately, because of how fast all the decks are getting, Ruby Sapphire did have to change its shape as well. So not many people are running Sapphire Coil, as well as like Icebox and Lord of Brawls and stuff like that, as well as Madame Medusa. So likelihood of this character to survive is higher. So yeah, I think it's a very, very solid and valid card option right now.
So simply, this deck is strong against some archetypes. The first one is this deck is strong against Ruby Amethyst and also Ruby Sapphire. The reason is like you have the Pit in this deck, and more than that, we have the Beyond the Horizon to refilling and reshuffling their cards. And most likely, they don't have much answer against Goofy, except their Elsa and Be Prepared. Those are the answers. But you can easily suppress those cards. Yeah, most likely that you can win the game easily. The deck you don't want to face is the least one you want to face is probably Emerald Amethyst aggro deck. The reason was like it used to be a good matchups, but now they have additional world characters with Diablo and like they have the like discard combination, and also they always have Ultra and Ultra Deceiver going to ask you about discard a song card, and that's going to be no good to this deck. It's because this deck has no evasive character. So if they successfully remove some of the actions from your hand and they have their Diablo and also their Prince John, then you literally have no answer against them. The only thing you can do is play Pete to suppress them, but that's all you can do.
The reason that obviously the Emerald Steel discard is coming back is because the stick being so dominant as well. That's why Ursula Deceiver has been feeling really, really good to play on turn 2. Just controlling the hand and also just like seeing what they have. And then letting them discard a card to gain an advantage is so good right now. And that's why the Diablo has come back. Honestly, that deck does not have pretty much any card that is new. It's just come back because this card has come back into the scene. And then the best way to beat it is to play that archetype.
If you like to use this deck, there's a couple of things that you can change. The first part is sometimes like you want to play a more turn 1 drop. Then in that case, you can reduce the number of Torvaldor and Ursula, 1 for each. Then you will have like 2 other card spaces. The card you might gonna put into this deck might be the turn 1 drop Muran. That's like a kind of a minor change. Then if you wanna go something like drastically changing, then I probably would removing the 4 set of Troubadour and 2 set of Ready and reduce 1 for each of Goofy and Rapunzel and put Robin Hood set.
Yep.
That's what I would do. Might be. It's gonna be like a drastic change. This change is literally one minor change and drastic change. Minor change didn't change much thing. It giving you much more playing options. The Muran itself is mostly like useful to make your hands more stable. It's because like this deck contains still like 12 of uninkable cards, and sometimes you struggle with them. Muran can change that situation, and especially when you play with that with Ready, then yeah, that works sometimes.
I think also playing full set of Robin Hood is very, very solid against the archetype that this deck is quite weak into, because obviously Emerald Steel do find it really hard going into a Robin Hood shift, purely because of the speed it comes out and also the pure just the pure power of that card. They are very, very slow at questing already, but they have to make it slower when that card comes out as well.
And also with Robin Hood, you can challenge to the opponent character more often, so that you can control the raw race rather than just like singing a song.
For sure.
Yeah. But to do that, you have to remove some part of the like really powerful cards, which are Ready or Ariel or Rapunzel or Goofy. It's up to you, but like it's most likely Ready and Ariel is gone, and then for set of Troubadour swap with Robin Hood. It's because he doesn't have much like ability with Rapunzel, so he doesn't have like a good combination with Rapunzel. So because of that, like you play Ursula rather than Troubadour.
For sure.
Literally for the store set champ, this Diggy single aggro, like Amber Steel aggro deck, is more likely like it can bring you a lot of the winning condition. So you can reach easy to like reach the top 8 or top 4.
I think just the raw pace and the amount of removal that's in there is just so strong, especially when there's this brawl being played as well. It just the survivability of some of the characters are quite high right now, and that's where I see like the stick's potential. Alright, so for our next deck we got Amethyst Steel. Again, another very, very fast deck. This deck is running only 9 uninkable cards. Sounds very, very solid. I like these kind of decks. Yeah, let's go through it. Why is this deck gonna be quite strong in this meta?
It's because simply again like you have the Pete and a lot of the turn 1 drops, so this deck is much faster than you can imagine. Most of the time like you usually able to play turn 1 drops and follow up with the Madam Mim and the Misses to Me, then finishing the game with the Marine Goat or Cobra. That's the main strategy, and most of the time also you can also like respond the opponent characters with Madam Mim Fox and Marine Crab with Sing a Song. And then you can seal the game with 2 types of Elsas. The first one is the familiar one, the 5th Spirit. She is always reliable. The reason I split the one of this Elsa bring to the new card like also Fierce Protector. It's because simply also Fierce Protector can completely seal the game. Depends on the situation, but like most likely. So this deck list, you can also find a lot of the 3 of same kind and also 1 singleton. Also, and the rivalry are the singleton and the other cards such as like a giant cobra and marine crab. Also the fifth spirit and then around came Zeus. Those cards are like on card like 3. We put 3 of them. We put like on 3 same cards like on such as like cover or the crabs. Those cards are utilities. So these are powerful, quite powerful, but sometimes like on the 4th card you just put them into the ink. And because of that, like I like to like widen the strategy and to make some options. And because of that, we put like Elser, Fierce Protector, and also the rivalry into this deck. And these cards can be answer like some specific situation, which usually this deck cannot respond.
I think it makes sense with the card choices. Obviously, Cobra doesn't really do much by itself. Crab is an obviously removal, but because this deck you're going faster, so you don't need as many Cobra. You don't need as many Crab. And Elsa is definitely a utility card that you want to have for the decks that are faster than yours. You need that card to make sure that you can go into that, and it's same for Elsa Fifth Spirit, but it's probably more so focusing on cards that you can't usually exert, or obviously cards like Maui Shark, when you know that your lore calculation is going to be changed anyway. And I think Merlin Rabbit is there for the extra card draw, because obviously Genie sometimes does not provide you enough, and then Merlin Rabbit you definitely are guaranteed to draw 2 when you play it, so that's I think what you have it for. And then along comes is another option card that you can remove big cards like Tamatoa or obviously the Maui Shark. And having 1 of a library is very, very good, because obviously you are wanting to quest as much as possible, but then if your opponent are playing stronger cards or cards that can remove all your cards in 1 turn, like Sisu or Be Prepared, you can just move them there anyway, and you can just lay out your next line of lore questers. So yeah, I think it's really well thought out. It makes sense to play a deck like this right now with how fast the meta is right now. And for you to be able to gain advantage through challenges, obviously I'm talking about Mim Snake, Mim Fox, as well as Merlin Crab with Diablo combo. Totally understandable. I think it is a really, really good archetype to have when Chernodog, Fast Amber Steel, and other various aggro decks are out there right now. This is a very, very solid option.
Set champ is kind of unpredictable. Most likely, you have your locals, regular and frequent the people who's coming to the store, but also at the same time some people really want to get the Playmat and the promo cards. So people from the outside of your community is also coming. And because of that, I just want to put a little bit more options to respond to some meta games. And the library also usually works against some control deck and also the aggressive deck at the same time. And other than that, you just utilize your playing speed. Most likely, this deck is usually going to questing rather than just challenging. So most of the time, this deck can work against the almost 90% of the meta decks. The one that you least the least one that you want to face is probably most likely Ruby Sapphire deck. It's because without Pete, it's quite hard to suppress things and be prepared, and you only have 1 library in this deck. So with the Ruby Sapphire deck, you focus on gaining the lore rather than just challenging. It's because they will probably going to play the location, but that's not the card you need to respond. What the card you need to respond is actually the Shark and Tamator. All the other cards you can just ignore it, but focusing on the questing with your character and draw the card whenever you can, and then bouncing it back especially like your cover and the gold is having the essential role in your deck. So keep those cards as much as you can, or put the cover onto the field in the earlier turn, then bounce it back with the Madam Mim Snake and Fox. That's gonna be your strategy, and gain the roar as fast as you can. And once they're shark onto the field, you may able to respond them with the Marine Crab or Ulcer or combination of these cards. Other than that, play and then around game sales.
Yeah, obviously, like Pete becomes quite crucial when you're facing Ruby Sapphire as the stick. You can probably get to around, I would say, 11-12 lore because of the speed that you have in this deck, and then Ruby Sapphire won't be able to do much till then. But after that, it will start becoming really difficult, and personally, you'll only be usually getting 1 or 2 lore from there, and you have the turn of basically playing Pete, bouncing it with Madam Mim Snake, playing Pete again, over and over and over until you have enough lore. And yeah, it is very, very tough, but that's like how this deck usually works. And that's why Ruby Sapphire is probably the worst matchup for this deck, considering how versatile this deck is.
If you'd like to utilize this deck, what's the card you can put more is actually your familiar card, Elsa, the 5th Spirit. That's gonna be the card you might gonna increase. And then you really don't have to add another cover or Marine Crab unless like you're living in the fast forward in metagame. Yeah, I think like the Elsa is the only card you wanna put. And in that case, you may reduce the number of the Zeus. It's because Zeus is not just because like Zeus is uninkable, but like Zeus is not the character, so that it doesn't help you to like gain the lore. So like what the card you wanna add is, I would probably like remove all the and then around game cells. Then I want to put like a more library and Ulcer. That's the card like I would like to add.
We are on to our last deck that we're going to be talking about today, and it's set 8 Blurple. Mystic Sorcerer is what KG has called it. So let's go through the deck list.
Alright, so deck list comes with a bit of the unique list, I believe. And we started with the Popscore and JAFAR, then Accelerate with Tipo and Sales the Azrai Sea. Then after that, the cards you knew are like the Belle, Peter Pan, Genie, Iago, and Elsa. So that's like a usual combination. The thing, this one is very different from the others, or like you can see the multiple of the full set of Belle and Iago. That's usually not happening, but like this time we put them all together, and of course like we have Tamator and Hades with the whole set as well. Then one single drop of Journal Duck, which is he's a sorcerer, so that's the reason like we call this deck called Mystic Sorcerer. The aim of this deck is simply this deck targeting some hyper aggro decks. We counter challenging with the Peter Pan, Marine Crab, Madam Mim Fox, and then off with the Belle and Ulcer, and also like sealing the game with the Hades and Nod Duck. And you can also have like a lot of the backup cards such as like a Genie and the Tamator with the Popsicle. Then friends on the other side differently going to provide you additional cards. But aside from that, like this deck is not doing so much fancy things, so we are not going to waste turn 5 with, or turn 4 or turn 5 with the Finders Keepers. This deck used to have a lot of the draw source. I realized that sometimes it's not that much necessary. You just draw in the card but couldn't change the situation a lot. So that's why this time we put a lot of the powerful cards such as Hades and Tamator to catch up the raw race, which is currently their metagame became faster and faster, so that to catch up those chasing those decks, we change the shape of the Blurple into this form.
I think it's quite good. Personally, the reason that you are playing Blurple right now, that made it consistent compared to Blurple like a couple sets ago is obviously the Bell, being able to be played in turn 1 if you got Popsicle with. And therefore, why would you not run the Shift Bell as well? Because it has a significant advantage of where you are able to move damage, and after you play Elsa and Iago and stuff, you definitely have targets usually because you would have done a challenge that is more favored to you, so it makes sense. And when the meta has gone faster, obviously it makes sense for you to play Diablo with Merlin as well as Man and Mim to remove early threats, and if they are possibly evasive, or if you want to hit them in a surprise attack by still keeping your characters on board, Peter Pan is available as well. So that makes Iago and Genie strong as almost exit Elsa, so that makes sense. And for you to be able to refill your hand with Tamator is such a big advantage. And Donald Duck surprising some of the opponents when you know that you can't make it in time with your usual card like Hades. It's really cool. I love playing Blurple, and I've seen a lot of builds recently where you are running Popsicle Bell as well as Tamator, so you can refill your hands that way, as opposed to the Magic Broom, Chernobyl followers, and the library build that used to be the case.
The reason we didn't choose Rivalry as a utility card this time is it's because simply we don't have much space for that card. Since we testing the situations and they're playing against the meta decks, I realized that I really don't have much turn to play Rivalry. It used to be a turn 3 or turn 4, but particularly this deck, has the purpose to play the other cards, such as Mari and Madame Mim, or Genie or Iago. These cards, we really want to put them onto the field. So that's why, if you have a Rivalry in your hand, that's most likely came after turn 5 or 6, and which is quite a bit late. And also without the tons of some lighter cost characters such as Magic Broom and Chernobyl followers, the library itself doesn't make its full potential. It's still a card, of course, it's always utility. However, if your strategy, if your deck have a different strategy and different threat situations, then and threat builds, then you really don't have to put rivalry in it. The other reason we don't put those, or it's most likely the deck which using the be prepared is now it's only one deck Ruby Sapphire, because Amethyst Ruby Amethyst decks are decline those days. Not so many people choosing that deck. It's because it still can respond to a lot of the deck, but the metagame is unpredictable, and with the unpredictable situation, Ruby Amethyst is needs a specific target, such as Amethyst Emerald deck or a Steel Song deck. And when they utilizing that, they often lose against the other type of the deck, outside of their side. And that's why, without so many be prepared, this deck can thrive without rivalry. You just constantly play the cards and constantly keeping the cards on the field and asking them, the Ruby Amethyst, to play their card onto the field as well. But luckily, your deck is more has the advantages about the challenging. It's because simply you have more Bell and you have Popsicle, and definitely you have more Iago than the Ruby Amethyst. Ruby Amethyst doesn't have much threat for that. Yeah. So that's why we cut the rivalry this time, and instead of that we play all the Peter Pan and the Bell combo, then follow up with some evasive characters. So that's this deck's strategy. So when you play upon some deck, the Mystic Sorcerer can easily beat down most of the aggressive decks, such as Shadow Dog deck. It's because simply follow up with the Mari and Madame Mim. So your best matchup are probably most likely against the first deck, Aggro decks. The deck you don't want to face with this one is probably control deck. And the control deck which surprisingly comes with the Maui Shark. So Ruby Sapphire and Ruby Amethyst is kind of your worst matchup. You cannot do much things against their cards, and the cards are like tendency like they ignore your evasive because there's a king so-called Maui Shark out there, and you usually have to spend at least like couple of combinations, like a combination with Elsa and Bow, or like a Marine with Elsa, or Marine with other evasive characters. Other than that, like you just play Hades. That's like a solid answer. But without the Hades, you really have to like try to find the answer and like try to deal with it. When you put more characters on the field, here comes the be prepared. So yeah, Ruby Sapphire isn't the best matchup for this deck. If your like store doesn't have any Ruby Sapphire control players, this deck is a go-to deck for you.
So we just have talked about the 4 of the meta decks in this video, and we also have talked about a couple of the other deck lists that we have seen from the Worlds in the part 1 video. So make sure to check that video out from the link in the description as well.
So since after the set 8 release and after the World Championship, the metagame become like a faster and faster. So like you have to build your own like the stages in the earlier turns, and it means like you have to utilize your deck for like focusing on like challenging and roars at the same time as usual. However, you have to more focus on the earlier turn, such as like turn 1 to turn 3, rather than like turn 8 to turn 10. So most of the deck like become faster and faster, and because of that, like some spicy deck list emerged, which is quite unique at the moment. So we have the diversity in the metagame, but most likely the tendency there's most likely 2 choices. One is using some like the Amethyst purple advantages curse. You're gonna use like Amethyst curse, or the second, you are going to use the steel card to suppress in the opponent. That's most likely happen. And aside from that, like Ruby Sapphire control still exists, and there's always like a Pete against Shark matchups coming.
So from this weekend, we are going into second week of the set championship for set 8 Reign of JAFAR. For those of you guys who already played in your local store championship, hope you guys did well. And for those of you who are watching this video and preparing for the set champs, good luck for your set champs.
Thank you for subscribing our channel. We have 500 followers now, thanks to you, and thank you for all the support. We will upload more quality contents in the future, so keep up with us.
Yeah, for sure. Do make sure to keep following us, as we are planning on attending some of the DLCs next year and possibly near towards the end of this year as well. We'll be doing some documenting around that journey as well, so make sure to like and subscribe for more Lorcana content. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay ready till next time.